But there's some things that simply can't be done using software, and you need real people to analyze that data. The other hard cost is usually if you're getting into a bigger dollar range, like if your brand is $1 million brand or larger, you're probably going to want a professional to look over your strategy, even if it's only for an hour or two. And you know someone who does social web strategy, it's like hiring a lawyer. It ain't cheap.
I'm curious what the background of everyone here is, because that has a huge effect on the question you just asked, which is where do you start? Because if you do have a marketing team, then you start in a very different place than you do if it's just you. So, I mean, do we have time to maybe go over that? That should be. Okay.
If we just do a quick introduction around the room, say, hey,
there's enough people, we can do that, right?
Dave, you want to start us off?
Yeah, marketing consultant, work with companies from Levi's to startups.
I work with a company that does, we just recently launched our own brand, and so we're building a brand online. Custom clothing, yeah. But it's like with technology, so it's not like traditional like tailoring. So we're small. We're 6 employees, so I'm the marketing team.
I currently work in a corporate buying office for lingerie, and I'm going back to school for marketing.
I'm an ambassador for a jewelry company, and we cut diamonds and sell them to brides-to-be and anyone else that needs them.
E-commerce coordinator of Chrome bags, and just introductory.
Yeah, we're all from Chrome.
I used to work in brand strategy for mostly lifestyle brands, and now I am working on 2 startups. One is an wholesale underwear company, and the other is an online literary magazine.
The director of strategy for a private lending startup, building a private lending portal, nothing to do with apparel or luxury brands.
Hi, I work for a women's fashion company by the name of Chaikin, and I do their new media and e-commerce.
I'm a jewelry designer. I'm also a jewelry designer, and I want to expand into accessories and t-shirts, bags.
I'm Joel Susel. I'm product manager at a voice, text, and email convergence software company.
I work at AKQA and Gap and Amazon.
And Target.
Yeah.
Kudos. that job of yours made my book. Excellent.
Yeah,
Excellent work.
I'm a product manager for Windows Live products. I'm working for Microsoft, and basically I just focus on their online entertainment and video services. I'm starting out my own clothing line. I'm hoping to get something and focus something around traditional clothing from outside the US and start something there.
That's interesting. You know, I think obviously there's a lot of different types of people working on different things here, but just to speak to your point, if you are starting a jewelry company and it's just, or you're your marketing division, then I would say the first thing to do tomorrow morning is to get online and just do a Google search for forums, online forums, any kind of like any Twitter account where people are talking about what you're talking about, and just start getting an idea of what that space looks like, and just do your research, right? I mean, it takes a lot of research, and every client that I take on, I have clients that are from e-commerce to security, applications, and every single client, it takes days and days and weeks of research to try to kind of figure out what your market looks like, and then you'll kind of know how to speak to them and where the places are to speak to them. You can start using those tools and measuring. But
Yeah, there's a lot of good tools that you can just start out with that are actually kind of pricey, fancy pants tools that have good free trials. I like Tracker a lot. Andy Beal makes that. He's the guy who wrote the reputation management book for Wiley and Associates. So that's tracker.com, TRACKUR. They have a free trial for a couple weeks, and I think it's like $18 a month. And that's a really good starter tool to kind of figure out, like, what are people saying about diamonds? What are people saying about our company? And then if you want to kind of like turn the volume a little bit, go a little crazy, that's when you want to look at maybe a Scout Labs. Scout Labs is pretty hot stuff. They're about $100 a month or so, and they have some crazy frequency analysis tools. So if you want to see like how often is our brand being talked about versus another brand, that's pretty hot. I love frequency analysis, really good feature. And then if you just want to be like, Metallica and just kind of ride the lightning, that's when you're turning on to like a Radiant 6 or a Symphony or just some hardcore data analysis tools. And one thing you'll notice is the more you pay for these tools, the cuter they look. So like, basically they're like the graphic kind of like interface that when you log in to like a really inexpensive tool, it'll get the job done, but it won't be beautiful. But like when you're paying $200 a month, it's like, it looks like Hello Kitty, except it's data. It's
Did
really
you say Radiant 6?
Radiant 6.
Radiant, R-A-D-I-A-N, and then the number 6.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing to come out of Canada since Rush. It's really good.
It's the only thing to come out
Cardinal
of
official,
Canada.
come on.
I'd like to point out a free tool that you can use, actually, and it's one that.
It's Canadian.
It's actually one that's been mentioned all night long. Twitter right now, completely free tool. Go and do a search, and you can even set up your own RSS feed just to track that particular search, and you can see, you can do your own visual analysis of, hey, how often is my brand being mentioned on Twitter? Now remember, Twitter's still a relatively small sample size. They only have like 8 million users, give or take, out of total internet population of 175 million users in the US. But still, 8 million still gets you somewhere, right?
And what if you don't have a brand yet? Good question. What do you study? You study your space and you study your nearest competitors or who you think your competitors will be. So let's say you're thinking of making jewelry. Find like the 5 big mucky mucks on Etsy or whatever the site is that are in your area and like look them up. And so do a sort of a benchmarking study and figure out, okay, well, how many heads has Jane's Jewelry got on Twitter or whatever the product is. But yeah, the other one that I really, really like is Compete.com, just for analyzing web traffic. There's a really cool metric that Compete has, and it's called attention with a capital A. It's a social web metric. It's sort of like out of the minutes a person spends on the internet in a given day, how many minutes do they give to your site? So Facebook has a super, super high attention metric. Facebook gets a 0.1 attention metric. That means 10% of the average Facebook user's internet day goes just to Facebook. Whereas an apparel brand like, let's say Chrome, you'll have an attention metric of like maybe 0.01, and that's actually good. Because people only maybe will spend, if they spend 1% of their total internet time on your site, awesome. That means they're making a purchase from you like once a month. So usually apparel brands will have an attention metric that's real low, usually under 1%, but that's still no slouch. Whereas if you're a content property or an application type property like, Google.com, that should have an attention metric of like 0.1, meaning 10%. So attention, capital A, and remember it's not the same thing as the advertising industry attention metric. So they use the word attention twice. Back in the 80s and 90s, it meant how many times you would have to see an ad for you to purchase it. So like you saw a Lincoln Continental ad at a bus stop, how many times you'd have to see that to purchase it would be the ad industry's version of attention. But in social media, when we say attention, we meant like percentage of time of your total internet day spent on that brand site.
And that's attention.com?
It's compete.com, and then just click attention, and it'll show you that. So for example, for your company, you want to look at maybe your brand versus 3 other diamond brands, and click attention, and it'll show you how much attention they paid to you versus the other diamond brands. See how Tom Shane's doing.
Can I ask you guys a quick question before you? So, actually, I want to ask the audience this. In general, how many of you guys are selling stuff online right now? Okay, so it's kind of one of those requirements, like having a website is a requirement. Okay, are you guys running your own in-house e-commerce, or are you using products like Etsy or Cafe Press or any of those in-house e-commerce? All in-house.
I want to talk about distributed commerce. This is
What about, I just wanted to ask, since, Etsy, everyone's always recommending Etsy. What's as far as like we're talking about social media, is Etsy like?
Etsy's a particular zone. So I think people in general have a tendency to confuse e-commerce and social media, and they're actually distinctly very different animals. Granted, there is a coming merger, I believe, of the two, which is what I would call social commerce. But at this point in time, they're two completely different things. E-commerce is just, I want to buy something online.
It's like a laggard.
Exactly. And so Etsy's a very particular community. The beauty of Etsy is that a merchant can go on there. It's all handmade products. They're all individual and unique. So everything you buy on Etsy, you know it's the only one there, and that somebody actually physically went there and made it and then sent it to you, right? That's the beauty of Etsy. Now, would I recommend Etsy for most of you guys in here? Probably not, but YouTube, definitely. And they have a growing community, and they're pretty cheap. I think they cost like a couple bucks a month plus 3% of transactions.
They have those eyeballs too.
Yeah.
Like they have an amazing